Welcome to Turtle Talk. This is Morgan's story and the family's journey. I'm Craig, and
I'm Michelle. Welcome. So Morgan, in the first couple weeks, we had talked about her getting fevers and meeting Mary and Bob. Love Mary and Bob.
and Mike.
And Mike. Mike was the guy that came and sat with her every night.
Yep. Looking for the angels.
Looking for the
Yep,
angels.
that's Mike.
That's Mike. Mike. Every time he'd come in, he's like, "Hey, Morgan, it's Mike, the fat guy from church." And I'm like, "Mike, he's just such a sweetheart." And his story is so amazing. I met another amazing person. I mean, we met so many. So you know, everyone that we met there had such a profound effect on our life.
Yeah.
Elizabeth was another one that I had met. And Elizabeth I was like, she was my sister for life. We had an instant connection. We were like two schoolgirls. After church, we'd go sit in the hallway and we'd talk and we'd tell stories and we giggle and we giggle and we giggle. Oh my gosh, I needed that. It was great, especially after Bob got discharged. Then I felt lost again, like Bob and Mary are gone. Even though they continued to come to church, it wasn't the same as 11 o'clock at night walking over to Bob's room saying, "You got a minute? I need some prayer."
Right.
Doing it on the phone just isn't the same. But Elizabeth would hang out with me and we'd just wander around, and if it was cold out, we'd sit there and just talk, and we'd tell stories about being in school and meeting our husbands and our kids. And we started laughing because she has a daughter named Megan. I have a daughter named Morgan. And one day I said something to Morgan. I'm like, "Oh, Lovey." And she goes, "What'd you call her?" And I said, "Well, I called Morgan Lovey. That's one of her nicknames that I gave her." And she says, "Oh my goodness, I call Megan Lovey." So here we have a one-letter difference, same nickname, almost identical in age. I mean, there was just so many things that brought us together. And she ended up just being like one of my bestest friends. And we had such a good time. One time I had just kind of gotten really down and out and blue, and she sat and she hugged me, and I'd cry and we'd laugh and we'd talk. And she'd give me tough love if I needed it. And I don't know, it was quite a while into our friendship, but it felt like we knew each other. Like, seriously, it felt like we knew each other for life. But I didn't even know she had been a lawyer at one time. So she's giving me all this advice, and I didn't even know. I was so self-absorbed in our issues that I never really asked what she did. And she said, "Well, I don't do it anymore, but I used to be." And so that was a great comfort that she had some insight for me to help with some of these insurance situations and different approaches, because the insurance battle raged on the whole time we were there.
Yeah.
It just, so yeah, there, Elizabeth, and then Shane. I met Shane, and Shane and her husband, we met at church, and her husband's a police officer in Nebraska. And I tell you what, for the longest time, we really struggled with trusting anyone in a uniform.
Mhm.
And not that all officers are bad, because they're not. But it just takes one bad apple to smear the name of all the good apples.
Yep.
And that's a hard thing to decipher. But I am so grateful to Shane and her husband both for just Tim, for really helping us realize that they're not all bad. And Tim is just such a sweetheart. They both are. They're just amazing. And so I'm very grateful to them for that. and for also giving us a lot of encouragement. You know, things get monotonous.
The routine.
The routine gets very monotonous. So I was very thankful for the church friends to help break up that monotony and give us a different point of view. You know, give us the God perspective. I remember Bob. Bob was so funny. Every time something new little thing would happen unexpectedly, like when we figured out that the wing of the hospital that we were in was also connected to St. John Henry Newman.
Right.
He just looked at us and he always says, you know, it's a God thing. And so that became the running joke, is these cute little miracles that were happening was a God thing.
Yeah.
You know, and he reminded me that daily, like he could find a God thing in everything, every day. And it was, I think being around people like that really helped change your perspective out of the pity party into the, wow, all things are possible with God. So I really appreciated Bob and Mary, and the eclipse happened while we were there. And it was so cute because we got to go outside and all these wheelchairs and all these people are out there with their little sunnies and their little eclipse viewers and stuff. They had acquired a bunch of them. So we're all outside watching the eclipse. It was pretty awesome. It was a neat thing. But it was fun to experience it with people that we now considered family, you know, instead of just a whole bunch of strangers standing out there. We got to do this all together. So that was really neat. But, oh, I don't know.
It's good stuff.
It's tough stuff.
It's a God thing.
It's a God. But I remember one day, I think it was Bob and Mary again. I was probably having another pity party. You know, those happen occasionally when you're going through some tough stuff. And they come up and they said, I was kind of whining a little bit, and Bob would get stern with me, but he was so sweet, stern. It was so sweet. And he's like, just remember, if he brings you to it, he'll bring you through it. It's a good phrase. Which then made me think back to my grandmother, who, I remember when I told her I was pregnant with triplets, and she, I was like bawling, and I'm like, I can't do this, and crying, and definitely on a pity party that day. And she never raised her voice at us kids and never scolded any of us grandkids. But she was like, God only gives you what you can handle, so you better put a smile on your face, and this is going to be a good thing. And so that echoed into my head when Bob's telling me, God brings you to it, he'll bring you through it. And I thought, geez, I wonder if him and my grandma have been talking.
It's funny.
You know, it's just those little reminders in life that sometimes, no matter how bad we think things are, that there's still a positive there somewhere. You just have to find it, you know. And I don't know. We worked on a lot of different things. Of course, you know, we talked about working on her eyes, working on blinking her eyes for yes or no, or moving her eyes, or raising a finger for yes and no. We worked on switches, which was pretty fascinating to me because they'd have this little, like just a clicker button thing, and they could put it real close. So all she'd have to do is turn her head and it would touch the switch. And the switch went to a little voice box that said yes or no, or whatever we pre-programmed it to. But they could also program it to turn on and off like a lamp. So they would work real hard with switches, you know, trying to get her to turn on a switch or turn on a light, which she could be very successful at. The problem was the more things Morgan tried to do, And the more she was trying to make her brain work, the more the tone kicked in. So, like if you're trying really, really hard to do this, the muscles like lock up and freeze.
Sure.
You don't move freely. So even though she could be successful in those things, it was a very short-term successful because she couldn't repetitively do it all day long. So finding the right medium to help her communicate. Is it switches? Is it eyes? Can she talk? How do we make these things happen? So there are a lot of things that went into communication. I was surprised, and they were very creative. And of course, food was always Morgan's driving force.
Yeah.
But you know, um, we talked about food before. So Morgan was on tube feed
Right.
through her G tube, and Tom and I kept pushing that. Morgan's motivator had always been food. We could bribe her with Oreos and we could get her to do anything her whole life. Oreos, deli ham, cake, pie, cookies, you name it. So,
Typical kid.
typical kid, and so we worked really hard at trying to convince everybody that Morgan needed to not have so much tube feed and start eating. That was kind of a disaster.
Why was that a disaster?
Well, moms always know best.
Always.
I don't care what anybody
No
says.
argument here.
Moms always know best,
I get
even
in
if we
trouble.
hate what mom has to say. And so we decided that we needed to help her. Like, let's motivate her. And we were watching her balloon up, like weight-wise, from the tube feed. They were just, I think they were giving her too much, so she was putting on a lot of weight. Well, weight isn't always good when you're in the therapy world, because the more weight you have, the more weight you have to try and move
Right.
in an already fragile situation. And so we kept telling everybody, come on, she's doing good with the ice chips. She's doing good with the juice. Let's give her some food. No, no, no. No, no, no. Well, then we started saying, no, we have to work towards that. No, no, no. So I went and bought preemie baby food.
Okay.
I went and bought preemie baby food because I thought, you know what, if she can't eat, we don't have a good bribery method to get her to do things. We
Right.
can't encourage her. Plus, I don't think that tube feed that they were feeding her, I just, moms have a sixth sense, and they just know. And I just knew that this is not what was good for her. So they would hook up her tube feed and we'd shut it off. And we would, I put baby food in a little syringe, and we give her 1 cc at a time, like a pea, just a pea drop on her mouth, and let her mush it around and let her swallow it. And we diligently worked with her every part of the day we could. And we, kind of held off on a little of her tube feed, never starving her,
Right.
but helping her get hungry. Hunger is a good motivator, right?
Right.
So every day, we just multiple times a day, we would little bit of baby food at a time, and a little bit, it went from 1 cc to 2 cc's. Pretty soon we're eating like 5 cc's at a shot, 10 cc's at a shot. Now we're up to a baby spoonful, and then we got caught.
Okay.
That did not go over well. I think we were, I don't know. I think we were close to the end of August, maybe. So we had been there maybe, I don't know, somewhere towards the end of August, I think it was. And speech had been working with her, and she was doing stuff, and they're like, no, you can't give her juice, and you can't give her ice chips unless speech is with you, in case she aspirates, and blah, 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 right? And I just thought, God dang, we got to make this girl hungry because she'll be motivated. So I'm doing baby food, I'm doing pudding, I'm giving her all this stuff. And I might have like been making some tube feed disappear out of the bag, and we got caught. And one of the nurses came in and saw that I was feeding her and didn't like that. Went and told the director of nursing. Pretty soon we got everybody in our room scolding Michelle because how dare you? She could aspirate, which could kill her, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, then let's figure out a compromise, shall we? Because we know her and we know that food is her motivator. So how do we get there? Right? How do we get there? Well, the next step was a swallow study, and Morgan flew through that with flying colors.
Awesome.
So what I was doing wasn't necessarily bad for her, but it wasn't protocol.
Wasn't part of their plan.
No.
Yeah. Surprise.
Which I knew, though. I just knew that she needed something other than that tube feed. Like I don't know. Like way back at the beginning when I said I could feel her, I knew. I knew what she wanted and I knew what she needed. And, I picked out every fruit flavored baby food there was. None of the gross stuff, like no peas, no carrot.
No beef stew.
No beef stew. No. But let's give her the good stuff, like, in the chocolate puddings and things, and we were so cautious. Like the last thing I want to have happen to her is that she aspirates because I'm feeding her,
right,
and then die because I fed her. So if anybody's going to be the most cautious, it's going to be us.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So
did you come up with a compromise then?
Well, there was a little heated discussion, and administration still, now remember, we came with baggage.
Yep.
We're like the problem children of the ward there. So
because you asked too many questions.
I asked too many questions. We're videotaping. We have lawyers involved. We have all this stuff going on. And Michelle's in trouble again. So, of course, they come running at me with the stupid policy manual. Our policy says, okay, sounds good. Well, we got speech therapy involved. We did a swallow study, and the speech therapist worked really hard with us. She was great. Both of her speech therapists that we had, they were really great. They worked super hard with us. We had sessions of just eating so they could watch what we were doing and stuff. And then they approved an actual meal tray for her.
Oh, nice.
Yes. But do you know what, like, thickened pureed food looks like? Yes. I did not know that you could puree and thicken a hot dog and make it look like a hot dog, but it's just like baby food consistency.
I did not know that either.
It was pretty cool.
I don't think I need to know that.
Surprisingly, it wasn't horrible. So,
did you eat some of her food just to make sure?
I tasted everything.
Yeah.
I also,
well, she was princess, so you're royal food taster.
Yes, I was the royal food taster. Every med that they gave her, I researched.
Right. Okay.
I heavily researched to see what the side effects were, what it was going to do for her. I questioned some of the meds, but I'm not the doctor.
Right.
Right. So some of them I would just, I don't know, Tom and I just had a feeling that this isn't going to be a good med for her, and we'd watch her close. We took very, very diligent notes on everything because you get quite a bit of meds when you're in a brain injury situation. Like the number of meds keeps stacking up, and if you don't get the desired results, well, let's add another med on. Let's do this. Let's
Yeah.
increase this dose, add a few more on. How about this one for shits and giggles? Let's add that one in. Sometimes I felt like Morgan was more of a science experiment than an actual patient.
Okay.
It's difficult when you don't see a doctor every day or even every week. Like, things are getting relayed to the doctor through the nurses and relayed back from the doctor to the nurses, but not always is mom and dad in the loop, or the caregivers or the primary people. They're not always in the loop as to what's going on. So then we started requesting that I want to know, I want to see every med she's taking and the dose. And if anything changes, it doesn't change until we approve it. Which, of course, now I'm a problem child again.
You're also her advocate.
I'm
so
her, yeah, Tom and I are her advocate.
They've got to understand that.
And if we're not advocating for her and just letting them continue on, then she would have been a science experiment.
Right.
It just, struggle bus. Big struggle bus. Medication was a really tough issue for us. Eating was going good. We're still making slow gains in therapy. And we're, I don't know, probably into September now. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys. So keep the comments and the questions coming for us.
Yes. Love the questions. Please subscribe. Go to www.givemorgan.org or visit me at my real estate website, realtorcraigbertrand.com. And we always want your questions, comments, like, and share wherever you listen or watch.
Thank you.
Thank you.